going to log in my other device. All right, so let us get into the attitude of praying. All right, let us pray. Let us pray. Our kind Heavenly Father, as we come before you, we give you thanks and praise for your many blessings. Ask, dear Lord, that you will take full control of this health presentation. Help, dear Lord, that there may be calm. Lord, and I pray that your words, Lord, your thoughts may be my thoughts. And I pray that you will take full control. In Jesus' name we pray. Open our brain cells so that we can be receptive to what will be said. In Jesus' name. All right, so the last time we spoke about deworming, and we see how important deworming is, and how we need to take care of our bodies, and we saw what those little worms are doing inside of us. And today we will start, we will go through deworming children. But before I go into deworming children, I want to go back to last week. Please let me know, anyone that is on here that was on last week, if you understand the last protocol that I gave with the wormwood, the clove, and the black walnut. Let me know. Do you understand? Sister Marcia, were you on last week? Or anyone?
Yes, I was on.
Do you understand, or did you get a chance to go through the last protocol?
Yes. Yes, you had posted it on the chat, so I'd taken it off and read it over.
Okay, it was clear. Anyone else? Please let me know. Please give me your feedback. I just want to know if I should spend the time and go through that. All right. So let me share screen. Let me just jump then into the kids protocol.
Well, Sister Shrees, I did the pawpaw, I had the pawpaw seed. But I wanted to know, how frequently should I do it? Is it one whole of pawpaw, or the half a pawpaw and the entire seed in half of the pawpaw? I wasn't sure about that.
Okay, all right. So in regards to the papaya, you take half. If it's for your entire family, you can do a whole papaya with all the seeds in it, and you can take it. Well, you can take it when you're doing your smoothies. Now, if you're going on a worm cleanse and you're doing it with only the papaya, which I would encourage you to do with fiber powder, right? Then you can do it for the entire week. However, if you find yourself being gassy or bloaty, gassy especially, it doesn't necessarily have to be because of the papaya. It can be because of the toxins that are produced from the worms. But you still, I would say, if you find yourself being over gassy or bloated, then you can just pause a day or two and then you go back on it. All right. But that you do that for like a week with fiber powder, because the papaya seeds, they paralyze the worm. So you, with that paralysis, you want something to just sweep it out. And of course, you're gonna see a whole worm. So if you don't want to see that, you can get the black walnuts. Okay.
Okay. So have the entire papaya with the seeds for a week. Okay. All right.
Yes.
I gave just a half, well, 1 spoon of the papaya with the seeds, because I wasn't sure how much to give him, and I didn't want to have any incident with him. So I just gave him 1 spoon. So
Mm-hmm.
how much should I give a toddler, a 3-year-old?
All right, so today we're gonna go into what you should give to toddlers. For toddlers, it's not recommended that you give them papaya seeds because of their little stomachs.
Okay.
That's why if you're doing it in a smoothie with other things, of course, feel free to give him some of the smoothies, but by itself, it's not recommended. So you have some things that are more gentle on the stomach for kids. So
Oh,
I'm gonna go through it today.
oops.
No. Also, you can take the papayas whole. The first, I'm gonna send back a total cleanse document to you, and you can use that. Go ahead, Kenyo.
So the papaya seeds, if we have them in a smoothie, won't we be breaking them up, like blending them out?
Yes, you can.
How much? Because isn't it like stingy or hard to eat that way?
If you're having it with other things, no, you don't. It's not gonna be stingy. It's the papaya itself. It helps with the digestion of the seed, because the papaya has in it certain new ingredients or certain stuff that will help you to break readily digest the seeds. All right, so let's go.
So hold on. So you're saying that if if I were to chew the seeds, the papaya seeds, that's okay. Because can you just ask about blending it if you're doing that smoothie?
Okay, so you can have it two ways. You can blend it in smoothies with the papaya itself, half of the papaya with the seeds that are in it. If you find yourself that you're belching a lot with, even though you put it in the smoothies, you kind of scoop out some of the seeds and you blend less seeds. If you're going to have papaya seeds by itself, it's best that you take them whole. And there is a specific amount that you should take whole. I don't remember the amount, so I'm going to go back to the total cleanse, and then I can post it in the chat, right? So there's a specific amount that you take, and you don't bite it because it's stingy. You just have it whole.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Oh, that's okay. All right, so we're gonna jump into home remedies for intestinal worms in kids. And yes, kids do have intestinal worms. I'm just gonna start out by my personal testimony. I have a lot, but with the most recent one, Rosanna, she was experiencing vomiting, diarrhea. Like, it was terrible. I had to, and of course, if you're treating that at home, if you don't know how to treat vomiting and diarrhea at home, please go to the hospital, right? That's my disclaimer. She was having diarrhea, just water and poop. It was so bad. And vomiting. So I was topping her up on her oral rehydration liquid. That's first thing you have to do. And I realized it wasn't stopping. So we went to the doctor. And of course, the same old, which is Intergerminal, which is a probiotic. And totally forgot about probiotics, by the way. And brought her home. It was still the same thing. She was just having diarrhea. So then remember, okay, yes, we went and I remember that we need to give her some worm medicine. So we administered some worm medicine. I'm gonna go through some of them on here today. And guess what? The diarrhea, the watery pool steadily changed to a more solid one. And then it steadily changed and then it stopped. But guess what? When it stopped, I think on the third day, so on the third day, I saw a lot of little worms in her diaper. And of course, being the person I am, I take the diaper and I was investigating. And he's like, she's really. But I investigated, tried to figure out the types of worms and stuff like that. So, and it came out. And I was telling Kenny that, man, suppose we actually just took what the doctor said and we didn't administer the worm medicine, right? What would have happened? All of those little fine creatures would be in my daughter, taking off weight and just continuing. And of course, we did that with Micaiah as well. So this is something parents that are on here, if you're experiencing vomiting, diarrhea, ensure to administer your oral rehydration salt as well as your probiotics. So that the gut health is in good shape and the hydration level is good. And then you administer your worm medication, right? So yes, so let me go on. So that's my testimony. I'll allow mothers to share their personal testimonies as well. All right, so what is deworming? So deworming is very important with kids. If you have children and they're 10, 12, and you've never dewormed them, you need to. All right, so intestinal worms are common in children and the infection can spread quickly, right? So it's necessary to get rid of intestinal worms in time as they can adversely affect the health of your child. Therefore, it is essential that you deworm your kids as soon as you notice the symptoms. It is important to know home remedies for deworming kids. And look at that cute little face. Wow, she is so cute. But that is a worm that actually came out of her, right? Yes. And feel free to share. This is a very short presentation, so you can raise your hand or you can unmute your mic and you share. All right, so sources. You have pinworms, and pinworms are also called threadworms, right? And are small, they are thin, they're white, and they reside in the rectum, right? Their eggs thrive on linen and toilet seats and get ingested through contaminated food and drinks. So, like for example, if you have a child and they're experiencing itchy bottom, don't let them experience that itchy bottom for a long time, because when they scratch, the eggs, they come off on the underwear, and you take the underwear, maybe wash it with your clothes or another child's clothes, and guess what? They thrive, the eggs thrive on that dry environment or toilet seat. So they go to schools or they're home and they put the hand on the toilet seat straight in the mouth, right? So they will get these. So you just have to deworm your child. So you have tapeworms. Yes, children do have tapeworms as well. Tapeworms, also called flatworms, they attach to the intestine and breed on the partially digested food. Children generally ingest them through contaminated food, right? So, and of course, we know that it always hurts my heart, but I've not shared it with the parent or parents. When I see the little babies with when I see the little babies with the chicken bone, right? Threadworms are in chicken. Or you see the little babies with the beef meat trying to chew. Tapeworms are you have a specific term tapeworm that comes from beef, especially if it's undercooked, right? Roast beef and roast pork and stuff they're giving children. Those are undercooked things, you know? And you just give the children some big worms that sometimes they can't, well, all the time they can't manage. All right, so sources again, you have roundworm. Infection is caused by Ascaris lumbricoides worms. They are shaped hollow and inhabit salt water, soil, and fresh water, right? And are generally passed on to humans via pets. So you have your cats, dogs that the children plays with. Yes, they can get these roundworms as well as from just the regular tap water. Tap water, you have a host of bacteria in the normal tap water, and you have a host of worms in them too, and the eggs, right? Sources again, you have hookworms, usually occur due to poor sanitation. If these are small parasitic worms that attach to the intestinal walls, a child can come into contact with them through contaminated soil, right? So you see the little child there with sand in the mouth, or that's why our parents always say, don't go outside barefooted, right? These hookworms, they feed on the blood and they cause anemia in children.
Sharice,
All right. Yes, go ahead.
there's a question in the chat, but I have the same question. So when you wash the clothes, right? The bleach don't kill them.
Okay, I don't know. I know that they are very resistant, right? Especially the ones that come from is it the thread worms? Not the thread worms, the tapeworms normally are in shells. They're normally encapsulated in a shell. Very resistant, right? But some of them I'm assuming can die, but some of them you can't. Yes. And so when children like they run outside, especially if you have pets that poo all over the place, and they run outside barefooted and they come in, they will go on your sheets, you know, it just deworm them. Right?
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, two things. Oh Jesus, the two things just jump out of my head. All right, first thing. Being barefoot is not such a bad thing, though, you know, because it's important in terms of we call it, I believe they call it, the term is called earthing
Or
so, grounding. Yes, yes. So I mean, it kind of sound like you're saying don't allow the kids to be outside barefoot any at all, but it's actually really good for all of us, not just the kids. So I guess it's the area that you are in.
You can ground inside too, you know. They can wear barefoot inside and you still have electricity and all of these good stuff there too. But in terms of being outside in the dirt, especially when you have pets outside, I mean, grounding, you can do it inside, but sometimes if your child gets hookworm, that can lead to anemia, right? So I guess you'd have to figure out how or the most sanitized place, or I don't know, right? But you to get the grounding happening, but consider the hookworms as well. Thank you so much. I see on
Yes, and
yes.
yeah, the second thing, in terms of the we call it now, the bleaching of the garments. You know, the sun is one of the best bleaching agents. So I guess if you launder your stuff and then hang them out in the very hot sun, which I find to be anytime after 10 in the morning, between 10 and 12, have them out. They get really crisp and nice.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. Thank you. I really value all your inputs. All right, so this is a cycle, and I was telling Kenny last night that boy, these worms are something. These worms are something. All right, so the cycle, it says once the eggs are swallowed through contaminated water or food, they hatch out into the gut, and the adult worms cling to the gut wall, right? So when the female worm comes out of the bottom at night, yes, so we see sometimes the casing that some of the worms are in, even the HCl that is in the stomach can kill, right? So when the female worm comes out of the bottom at night, the sticky eggs cause itching. And then the child or even adults, I see adults scratching their bottom too. Yes, I do. So when the child or the adults, when the bottom is scratched, the eggs are transferred to the fingers and the cycle continues where, they touch things and you go touch it and stuff, especially at school. You have children who itch their bottoms because they don't know better. Sometimes you see them pushing their hand in their bottom, not even over the underwear, but in their bottom scratching. And those eggs, they're under the fingernail, so it's always good to cut the child's fingernail as low as possible and help them to have a good hand washing regime. Yes, you must wash your hands. Yes, and teach your children to do so as well. And even adults, as I said, that the most annoying thing to me is when adults, they pick their nose, they just push it, and of course, push it, use a tissue and do so that you don't have any worm eggs leaving in your nails, and then you go and you shake somebody's hand, right? So we're gonna do that going forward. We haven't started. Of course, this is a learning experience. All right, so effects of worms on kids' health. You have diarrhea, bad breath. So if you see a child, if you brush your teeth and you still smell bad breath, don't be shy. Don't tell them to go and brush the teeth again. Especially if you brush it thoroughly and you still smell the bad breath, don't think that something is wrong with the child in terms of, but go and maybe you need to deworm. Maybe because of worms. Stomach ache, headache, dark under eye circles, right? It can be because of worm. Frequent hunger pangs. Yes. When they eat, you realize that the frequency of their eating increase. Don't just say that they're greedy, but
And they're
maybe
growing.
the worms want more food, or they have more worms in them, so they require more food. They feel hungry because these worms just eating out the little food that you're giving them. Sister, I think I heard Sister Trish.
Oh, I was just saying, you said don't say that they're whatever. I was also saying, don't say that they're growing, so they're eating more.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. Yes. Right. So other symptoms are itching around the anal region. Girls may experience vaginal discharge, especially the little babies, little girls. Also, if you see if you see that they're itching their vagina, it can be that the worms, the eggs, remember they're scratching the bottom and they don't know where they're scratching, so everything just transferring. And that is why you tell females wipe from front to back and not from back to front, because especially you get up in the morning, you're peeing and you wipe from back to front. Oh my goodness, with those worm eggs, right? Yes, so from front to back. And if you feel itching, just go and bathe. And it's good to go and bathe the children in the morning so that you wash away those worm eggs, right? And in the evenings as well. And even for adults too. All right, so what are your thoughts? So this is a scenario, real life. So a 4-year-old child presents with vomiting for the last 1 day. So just pure vomiting for 1 day. During one of his vomits, a white-colored 10-centimeter long worm was passed. Parents became terrified and brought the child to the doctor. It just simply, what may be the likely diagnosis? Worms. The child is infested, right? And I told you about my situation after taking worm medicine. I've just coughed up a big old worm in my sleep, right? So worms. So foods you can add to your diet, to their diet. Honey and garlic, just have that put down, right? Good grade food, good grade honey, and cut up the garlic and just have that put down. So it's 4 cloves crushed garlic to 2 tablespoons of honey. That should be tablespoon, and give them for a week while you're doing the worm out, right? Or the deworming. Garlic is very good for getting rid of worm.
Sister Shrees,
Yes, go ahead.
sorry, I had my hand up, but you weren't seeing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Wanted
ahead.
to clarify something before you move way ahead. That yes, kids can eat more when they're growing, but it's just that we must be aware and watch the pattern.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes. Watch the pattern. So if you see a drastic increase in appetite, then you can see if maybe it's just that they're growing, but if it's too drastic, you just need to deworm them. Maybe it's the worm. Thank you, Sister Trish. Papaya smoothie with seeds, as I was saying earlier. If you're taking yours, just give them a little, but it's not really recommended for with the papaya seeds. Fruits and vegetables, no pork nor beef. The little children, they can't manage, the stomach cannot manage these things in the first place, right? But these things also carry worms, especially if they're undercooked. Consume iron-rich food and add supplement to their diet. So supplement with iron. And, because especially if they have hookworms, the hookworms give them anemia. And sometimes you see the black under the eyelid, right? All right, so what are your thoughts? This is another case. It says a 3-year-old child presents with perianal itching for the last 1 month. This is often seen during day and night. Child puts his hand on back and cry. These are real case studies, by the way, right? So child puts his hand on back and cry. Of course, the diagnosis is worm. The major one is itching, anal itching, right? Oh Lord, disclaimer. This is a disclaimer. If you are easily grossed out or you're eating, turn your head away, okay? All right, so this is a roundworms living in a child. It's coming out now, right? Maybe this child is dewormed or it's just coming out. So please, adults, these are the things that are living in your child. I love to add this picture because it brings home the point that we need to deworm our kids, right? This is a roundworm infestation and it's coming out of the child's nose and the child's mouth, right? So we need to deworm children. So home remedies, before I wrap up. So number 1, turmeric root is very good. And the thing about it, why we use milder forms for children is because their little liver cannot manage what we can manage, right? And when I say kids, this can be stem from 3, even 2, because Ruthana is 2 and she had a worm infestation. So even 2, you can start deworming, right? And boy, even for babies, but these are very mild. So let me go ahead and share. So you have the turmeric root, and children, you don't go 3 straight months. Now, depending on the worm infestation, if you have a child like this, you need to go like 3 months with the natural remedies. But how do you do that? You do every other week. So you don't go 3 months straight, you damage the liver. So like if you have week 1, you do the whatever method you want to do, and then you pause the 1 week and then you go on again, and you do it alternately for 3 months if you have a child like this, right? Obviously this child, oh Lord, is extremely infested. All right, so I see something in the chat. I will go to it shortly. Or you can open up your mic and speak if you wish. So home remedy 1 is a turmeric root. So 1 teaspoon of powder. Start screenshotting and writing. 1 turmeric root, 1 teaspoon of powder in 1 cup of warm nut milk or water. Why I say nut milk? It can be your soy milk, it can be your rice milk, it can be your almond milk, preferably almond milk, right? Because you know children they like stuff like that. Or you can add it to water. That's fine. So 1 teaspoon of powder in 1 cup of warm nut milk, and you add 1 teaspoon of coconut oil. Right? The coconut oil, it readily allows the turmeric to be absorbed in the kid's body. So don't just do it without the coconut oil. They can't take the black pepper with pepperine in it. So you use the coconut oil, or you can use olive oil as well. Right? But I know coconut oil is very good for deworming too. So it's like a double whammy in one remedy. This is very effective. So take early in the morning before meal. Most of the remedies you will realize that you take it on an empty stomach. Every other week for 1 week for babies, and up to 4 months for toddlers, every other week, right? Remember to open your mic if you have any question.
Sister Shrees,
Yes, go ahead.
what about pumpkin seeds?
Okay, so pumpkin seeds can be used. It's just that the pumpkin seeds, it paralyzes. It acts like the papaya as well. It paralyzes the worms. So if you're using your pumpkin seeds in smoothies, you ensure to use a fiber powder to clear as well. And with the fiber powder, of course, you have to give them extra water, right? So the fiber powder acts as a sweeping agent while the worms are paralyzed. But if you just give them the pumpkin seed, they will be paralyzed. Maybe you'll have 1 and 2 small worms just drop out or come out, sorry. But it's more effective when you have a sweeper.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So home remedy number 2, and this is my go-to. This is my favorite. I know that a lot of our parents, especially if you're here in Jamaica, this is their go-to, which is semi-contract herb. When you have semi-contract herb, Lord, you see a lot of poo in the stools, right, Kenny? Yes. You don't remember. Oh, but your mommy says so. So you have 1 teaspoon of semi-contract powder, or it doesn't have to be pulverized. You can just crush it, right? So 1 teaspoon with 1 teaspoon of neem herb and 1 teaspoon of soursop leaf, right? So you just crush it. Use the blender and just crush them out. You don't need to buy powder, especially if you have a soursop leaf tree at home, right? I have a big neem tree. If you live over Portmore, neem trees all over. They're all over Portmore, right? This is a huge tree. So, and the semi-contract.
I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I posted up. I'm asking. I don't want to deal with to take out the actual worm or experiencing them. You know, the worm that like the picture that we saw with it coming out of the child's mouth or his nose. What are the different alternatives? Because I wouldn't want to deal with that. I don't think I can manage that.
like my, like myself. But what happens sometimes if you actually for adults, the protocol that I gave last week, the wormwood actually kind of have a tearing effect on the worm, so you will see it in your stool. But for children, they will come out whole. I've had experiences with Micaiah where I'm like, oh my goodness, I wish Kenny was home in my mind, because the worm still attached, is still attached to the wall, and then then his poo grabs the worm. So part of the worm is in the poo. I'm guessing that the worm is paralyzed and part is still somewhat attached somewhere. So what I have to do is to take the tissue, and you just take your time. You have to be patient. If it's your child, just picture, like, you just know that it's your child, and it's good that the worm is coming out, right? So I just take the tissue, attach, kind of grab the worm, like this is the worm. So I take it, and this is his bottom, and the poo is somewhere down here, right? So I just take the tissue, grab the worm, and you have to gently just draw it out. No matter how long it is, you're rejoicing because this worm might be causing some illness in your child. So you just draw it until it finally comes up. But if you just drag it like this to get over, it might pop and you leave peace, especially if it's a tapeworm. The tapeworm just, if it pops in the child, it might produce 2 worms in there instead of 1, because they're like that. I don't remember what it's called, but the piece, even if you pop off the tail, it just do back itself, and it's a tapeworm. Again, so you have 2 in there. So you have to patiently just draw the worm. I hate dealing with it, but you have to think about the health of your child. So for me, myself, I like the protocol because the worm is kind of ripped up. So it's in the poo and it comes out. But for children, it's something that you have to deal with, especially if it's a roundworm or a tapeworm, one of those long ones.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
And how long do you normally go? You said 4 months for.
Okay, so it depends on the infestation. So for babies, like for ages like 1 to like 5, you go for 1 week because their little livers are small and they can't take a lot. For bigger children, you can go every other week up to like 4 months, depending on the infestation, right? So for this home remedy, 1 week, right? And it's, as I said, it's based on the level of infection. And you can go and get the child's stool tested if you want to know what type of worm and so on. You can go and get the stool tested at some professional place. I'm not sure, right?
All right.
So you're most welcome. So you have the 1 teaspoon semi-contract, 1 teaspoon neem herb, 1 teaspoon soursop leaf, and you boil it for 4 to 5 minutes. Drink on an empty stomach. So you do it early in the morning before they eat anything. If you're preparing them for school, wake them up a little early, give them about half an hour before meal, or 1 hour if you want, and get them ready for school, and they give them their breakfast, right? Yes. So another home remedy is carom seed. Carom seed, this is very effective as well. So you take half teaspoon of carom, it's called carom seeds, and you can mix it with honey. This is jaggery because this is an Indian recipe. So you can mix it with honey and give the child twice a day, right? Or you can add 1 teaspoon of the seed to half liter of water. So if you don't want to add the seed to honey, you can add it to water and boil for 4 to 5 minutes. And then you strain it and give the child 5 to 6 times a day. to keep her worm free. And this is for 1 week, right? 5 to 6 times a day for 1 week. But this gets rid of the worm. It's very good. Carom seed. Right? Or as I said, if you don't want to be boiling water or you don't want to be giving the child 5 to 6 times a day, you can just with the seed, you just put it in little honey and you give them, ensure that they chew, but the intestinal walls break it down too, right? And you give them 5 to 6 times a day. Just give them. It's sweet. The honey is sweet, so you just give them. They will take it. So remedy number 4 is nutmeg, right? And nutmeg, this one is really to keep them away from it, to prevent them. So every now and then, after you administer something for a week, to keep them away from the intestinal worms, you have this paste ready. Maybe you give them once a week or so, but you have this paste ready for it. And the honey and the nutmeg, just as always in the shell, right? It targets those, it breaks up the shells of those worms that are encapsulated. The eggs are encapsulated in a shell, or if the little ones are they can encapsulate themselves in a shell. Like the tapeworm, it breaks it and kills those little worms. So this is always good for them to take like once a week to prevent them after you do the remedy. So it's grind or grater the nutmeg, and you make a paste with water. And since the nutmeg is bitter, you can add honey to it and you make the paste. And this can be given to toddlers as well as older children to prevent intestinal worms. Give a little of the paste to your child every week to prevent worm infection or intestinal worms, right? So every week you give a little bit to the child.
Sister Shrews,
Yes, go ahead, Brit.
you give one whole thing, or you just use how much of it would you use? Yeah.
All right, so they didn't specify, but you can grate one entire nutmeg, and you can add the honey to taste. So the nutmeg is a little bitter, so it's always good to just add as much honey as you can for the child to actually take it. So ensure that you mix it thoroughly and you give them a little, I'm assuming like 1 teaspoon, but I'll look at the specifics, right? You give them every week. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so
go back and look at the specifics. I think this is the last before I wrap up. So number 5 is coconut oil. No, this is normally I suggest it especially for babies. So for one, if your baby experiencing these symptoms, you can give it. It doesn't harm them. It does more good because it's loaded with good fatty acids, right? So especially babies, little baby babies, once they're experiencing, if you look in the stool, start investigating. Don't just pick up the diaper and throw it away. Look through the stool. Yes, that your neighbors think you're a mad person. Look through the stool to see if you see any form of worms, and so you can administer this to your babies. So give 1 teaspoon full of coconut oil, and ensure that is a food grade coconut oil, right? Not the one for hair or skin, a food grade one. So give 1 teaspoon of coconut oil to the child first thing in the morning for a week. So every day for a week, right? It should be followed by a cup of warm water, right? So you give them nice, it's tasty, and you followed by a cup of warm water. Or you can a bottle of warm water, right? So this is very, very effective for worms. Yeah, the best one though, I'm not being biased, is the tea made from soursop leaf, the neem, and this one. The tea made from soursop leaf, semi-contract, and neem. That's very good, but it's a little bit for older kids because the neem is slightly bitter. right? So that is it. So if you want to go ahead and share any of your deworming strategies, you can go ahead before I close. I think I'm way over time.
Sister
Or any
Sherry,
questions? Yes, go
Sister
ahead.
Sherry, morning. Happy
Good
Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
The last deworming about the coconut milk. Go back to it again.
Yeah, the coconut oil.
The coconut oil, right? So just give them 1 teaspoon.
Yes, every day in the morning before they eat anything, and a warm glass of water afterwards.
Really?
Yes, for the children.
Oh, like a 6-year-old?
No, a 6-year-old. These are for like this one especially is for babies. A 6-year-old, they have maybe a 4-year-old, some 4-year-old worms in them if they weren't dewormed for all this time. So I would suggest something stronger, like the carom seed or the tea or the turmeric root powder.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Sharice, could you go back to page 3? I didn't get a snapshot of that one. Thank
The
you.
remedy 3 or page 3?
Yes, this one. No, this one, remedy 3. Yes.
Yes, the carom seed. Yeah, this is very good. And remember jaggery? We don't have jaggery here in Jamaica, or I think it's an Indian thing. So you can use honey. Yeah, I think it's because this is an Indian recipe. Go ahead.
Sure. So where we could get, we're in Jamaica, we could get the carom seeds to buy. I would have to order it.
Okay. It's sold in health food stores. Yes, but the carom seeds very good, very very good. All right, so I think that's it, and I pass back over to the host. I hope you are blessed.
Thank you so much, Sister Sharice, for that presentation. And I was blessed with it, and I'm sure everybody, especially those with their children, was blessed. So we will